Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health stresses for July 1, 2026. This is a weather report. We do keep additional graphics at tpatw.com. We also maintain a storefront on Amazon. July 1st will be coming in with quite an unusual weather map. We'll have some cool temperatures out west, but their humidity levels will be falling dramatically and low, and that will mean an increase in fire risk and a lot of smoke and really pollution in the air. The west has their problems, but the beast in the east will be heat, and that is everywhere from the plains all the way to the eastern seaboard. A really push of southerly air across and up into the nation will make temperatures boil all the way through the remainder of the week. Note there is a frontal system, a very weak frontal system, stretching all the way from southern Idaho across Wyoming, all the way across into South Dakota, and then through central Wisconsin and up into New York. So there's a lot of instability up the plains to the Great Lakes. A remnant of a front always hanging over Florida, and it really isn't going to matter with the humidity, unsettled weather, and instability. And note here in the convergence area of New Mexico into the Texas Panhandle, lots of really unusual activity going on, and we'll have that combination of other weather elements that we'll talk about later. Looking at our vitality index, which is a measure of the areas where there could be individual weather elements that will have some impact on human health. Note we have this convergence area in eastern Arizona, New Mexico. Lots of unsettled activity up here from Iowa across the Ohio Valley, but really some risk of something all the way from the plains across to the eastern seaboard. The good news on pressure changes, high pressure is so dominant and will remain so dominant. We really don't have much pressure change to talk about. A little bit of increasing pressure here in North Dakota, and that's because it took that long for high pressure to become dominant across the country. We are seeing a little bit of falling pressure trying to hold on to New England, but it's a losing battle there too. Interesting about temperature changes. We'll be really increasing temperatures, but not at such a tremendous rate in a very short period of time that it'll show up on the 24-hour temperature differential map. We're going to just be hot, 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 and stay hotter. We can see a couple of bubbles of high temperatures here in the plains, and you'll note that overall temperature change is more in the doldrum than anything else. Again, for dew point temperature change, we're going to be so humid all the way from the plains to the east, not significant changes, but we're going to see falling dew point temperatures here in the west, just where we don't need it. We're going to see vapor pressure very much the same, falling across the west. Interesting little bit of falling vapor pressure here in the southeast, right around the Georgia-Florida area. But note that we have increasing vapor pressure across the middle Atlantic up into New England. This will be another story, and that is the instability or the lifted index. Note that we have instability everywhere from the plains up the Mississippi Valley, and especially interesting here in the upper Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley. Also, we have a lot of instability across Florida. The good news here is the Appalachians do a favor, at least for the extreme eastern seaboard, as we don't have quite that level of instability right on the eastern areas of the Appalachians. High temperatures themselves will be high enough that we'll have an increased risk of migraine across much of the eastern third of the country. We will also have a relative increase in the risk for people with suffering from COPD as the elevated humidity has the molecules of water actually displacing oxygen, making it harder to breathe, or at least making you breathe twice as often to try to keep your blood level, oxygen levels up. That saying, looking at the change in oxygen availability in the air, we have a little bit of migraine stress here in the, call it the toe of Idaho, And then we have a wider swath out here across eastern New Mexico up into eastern Colorado, western Kansas. We do have a risk of migraine spottily, really significant across Louisiana, and then up in the area where Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee come together. And then, of course, here where Tennessee and North Carolina meet in Georgia, we have another risk of migraine. We also have a risk of migraine across northeastern Minnesota and the Michigan Upper Peninsula. The larger risk in terms of area is asthma and arthritis. On the eastern side of the Appalachians, from the Carolinas up through Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, eastern Pennsylvania, New York, and across all of New England. Note we also have another risk of asthma and arthritis right about Tampa. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated. And just remember, the heat and the humidity is one thing, but that elevated temperature, elevated humidity overnight, the interruption of sleep, and the accumulating stresses on the body over a 2 or 3 day period is what makes a heat wave so interesting. Stay cool.